John Jr. We first knew him as John. Grew into a strikingly handsome young man with a stylish and beautiful wife and a determination to live life on his terms. Well, he carried the aura of his famous name and parentage. He took off from a New Jersey airport last night, heading eventually for his cousin Rory's wedding at the family compound in Hyannisport after stopping first in Martha's Vineyard. John Kennedy Jr. had his pilot's license for about a year. We're going to begin tonight with NBC's Robert Hager, who first heard about all of this early this morning. Robert?
Grim story, Tom, and grimmest of all, two compelling pieces of information. First, radar blips that could have been the Kennedy plane suddenly disappeared at just the time and place that plane might have been as it approached Martha's Vineyard last night. Second, what sadly is now being pulled from the surface of the sea. Among bits of wreckage found in choppy water off Martha's Vineyard this afternoon, a piece of luggage with Lauren Bissett's name on a tag. A headrest, a tire, only small pieces. John Kennedy Jr. had his pilot's license only 14 months. In these pictures, he's seen taxiing last November in the plane he owned then, but this is the one he flew last night, a much more powerful, complex six-passenger Piper Saratoga, acquired only recently. It was 8:39 p.m. when he took off from the small airport in New Jersey. Private pilot Kyle Bailey watches from the ground.
I saw what kind of night last night was, and, I actually, when I got home, I said, to my family, I said, somebody's probably going to kill himself in the airplane. I hate to say it, but, just taking off in that, with that low visibility over, if he was going over land, that would be fine, but over the water, over the ocean at night in a single-engine airplane, I myself, unless conditions are perfect and you're extremely high, I myself wouldn't have done it.
A little more than an hour later, when the Kennedy plane fails to show up at the Martha's Vineyard airport, relatives call the Coast Guard. 2 a.m. off Long Island. Authorities believe they hear the sound of an emergency locator beacon might be coming from a downed plane. Boats launched, but the noise is never heard again. Authorities decide it's a false lead. Daybreak now, and search planes take to the air. And now air traffic controllers find evidence of an unidentified radar blip that disappeared during the night at 9:39 p.m. That last radar hit was about here, 17 miles off Martha's Vineyard, near Gay Head. At a point where John Kennedy's plane would have been descending into thick, heavy haze and preparing to turn either left or right to set up for the approach to runway 24 from this direction, dictated by prevailing winds. In the thick haze and the turn, could Kennedy have become confused? Private pilot John Shelton, who's flown a Piper Saratoga like the Kennedy plane.
But the pilot could get vertigo, and not know which way is up or down, or you could get confused as to what way is up or down.
Flight instructor Marcus Bettekoffer.
In a case like this, you got to rely and believe what the flight instruments tell you and act on, meaning basically fly the airplane and act on what the instruments tell you.
And this afternoon, the grim finds. Wreckage washed to within 200 yards of shore off Gay Head. An eyewitness to one find, Chris Urbetta.
As it came in, we noticed that it was a piece of luggage, and a friend of mine who we were with pulled it in, and we lifted up a little Velcro name tag, and it turned out to be Lauren Bissett.
Lauren Bissett, Kennedy's sister-in-law, aboard the plane with Kennedy and Kennedy's wife, Carolyn, as it went down, or as it's presumed to have gone down. Tonight, authorities say they'll continue to search intensely for days, if need be. The water in that area is actually fairly shallow, just 200 to 100 feet deep, and ships are headed into the area now, equipped with underwater sonar. Those are sound waves that can be used to locate wreckage at the bottom. Tom?
Thank you, Robert. And Bob, by the way, there's more debris, I gather, that is coming ashore at Gay Head. They've cordoned off that beach, including a strut with a wheel on it and other pieces of an airplane. So they probably will have a pretty good idea before too long, don't you think?
A pretty good idea. Well, the name tag kind of does it. This indeed was the plane. So now what you need to determine is more about just where it went down, and can you find more of the wreckage underwater, if that's where it is, and can that tell you anything about what caused this crash?
Thank you very much, Robert Hager. And